Why are we here and what's our purpose? Meet the illustrator who sought out to answer some of life's biggest questions as a creator on YouTube. I'm John Santiago, and this is the Videocraft Show presented by Video Husky. My guest this week on the Videocraft Show presented by Video Husky is someone whose face you might not be familiar with, but I'm certain that there are many of you who are no stranger to his incredible work. Mark Wooding is the artistic mastermind behind the brilliant YouTube channel After Skool, and Mark has created a library of content featuring philosophical and motivational speeches, talks, and lectures reimagined through vivid whiteboard illustrations. Some of the most prominent people whose words have enjoyed Mark's illustration treatment include Alan Watts, Steve Jobs, Will Smith, and Dave Chappelle. The list goes on and on. The mission of After Skool, which at the time of this podcast recording has just about 1.7 million YouTube subscribers, is simple: to make learning more accessible and entertaining for anyone who watches. And it is my pleasure to have Mark Wooding on with me today to chat on the Videocraft Show presented by Video Husky. Mark, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure.
So, Mark, I usually, when I start this show and I talk with guests, I often like to begin with the origins of their creativity, right? Like creating content on YouTube is a creative act. And I've read quite a bit about you in terms of the origins of your creativity, and how you were basically drawing before you could even talk. Could you give us some background and give us insights into the origins of your creativity?
Yeah, it's hard to know where any story begins, but like you read, before I could even walk, my parents would just drop a pen on a piece of paper and I'd crawl over and I couldn't even hold it right. I'd hold it like within a fist. And I continued holding the pen in a fist form till like I was in second grade. And all my teachers were trying to train that out of me, but I just had a very unique way of thinking where I would hold the pen in a fist and I would write everything backwards. I was left-handed, so my teachers when I was young were just really confused by me. But somehow one of my drawings got entered into an art contest. I don't even know how this happened, and it ended up in a museum in San Francisco called the DeYoung Museum. And I didn't even know it was a competition, but it won somehow. And I'm in first grade, and they bring in a trophy that's like a foot taller than me. And they're like, "Is Mark Wooding in the class?" And I was just from the moment I got that giant trophy that said I won this youth art competition, I was like, "Oh wow, okay, I guess I'm good at art." And I wasn't the best student, but one thing I was really good at was show and tell. For some reason, that was my thing. And every week I would prepare for this 10-minute presentation. I don't know if they still do show and tell in schools, but I think maybe that's kind of where I got my ability to like filter down an idea and make it interesting and then use art to present it. Uh, so then after I studied art in college, and there's this idea that you're going to be a starving artist after college and you're going to work at Blockbuster or something and never use your art degree. Uh, there's this philosophy called ikigai in Japanese. You might be familiar with it.
I've heard of it.
I love this philosophy. It's four circles that intersect. One circle is do what you love. One's do what you're good at. Do what will get you paid. And the last one is what does the world need? And the intersection of these four circles is your sweet spot. And basically, if you find something that kind of meets all four, you will be successful. You will have a purpose in life, and things will kind of just happen naturally. So that's something I discovered early, and it's helped me stay in alignment. So as long as I'm doing those four things and hitting all four, like if you're not getting paid for it, you're going to be broke. If you're not good at it, you'll probably quit. If you don't love it, you won't be happy. And if the world doesn't need it, it's gonna kind of like not have an impact. So if you're hitting all four, you're good. And so throughout my whole career, I've kind of tried to push the limits of how can I meet those four even better. And for about 6 years after college, I was a freelance animator, and that was good money. Uh, the videos were getting seen. It was kind of like self marketing, and I did videos for Intel and Johnson and Johnson and National Geographic, and the clients were good, and the work was fun, and I even did live murals. So I'd get flown all over the world and do murals for events in like Ireland and Paris, and that was really awesome. I did a big mural in the lobby of Facebook headquarters in Menlo Park. So all these cool opportunities came my way, but eventually I wanted to do videos on my own. You know, the freelance thing was cool, but ultimately you're trying to make somebody else happy. You're just making a video for them. And I had all these ideas, and it kind of took a negative, bad experience to give me that final discomfort to push me out of doing the freelance because that was just humming along. But in 2016, a presidential candidate asked me to do a video for them. And this was a big opportunity, but I don't want to get involved in politics. And I was kind of, should I do this job? Should I not? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it because it's just a paycheck. And if I say no, it's not like the video is not going to get done. So I did this video for presidential candidate, and in the end, they didn't use it, and I didn't get paid for it. And that was kind of like a stop and pause moment where I was like, all right, you compromised your values to do this. Why don't you just take this as a sign to take a break from the freelance and just try to be a YouTuber? Like, I really loved YouTube. And I kind of got this thought a lot of times when I'd see these big YouTube channels. I was like, I could do a video like that, you know? So I gave myself 1 year to hit some goals on YouTube. The main goal was to get 100,000 subscribers in 1 year. So I'm a big believer in visualization and kind of manifestation type of thinking. Like if you see it, it'll become real. And I wrote down in big letters on top of my whiteboard, get 100,000 subscribers by this date, 1 year from starting the channel. And I started making videos. I tried to stick to a consistent schedule, but the beginning was tough because you're doing a ton of work. You're also saying no to paying customers because you're sacrificing that. And nobody's watching your videos. You're not making an impact. You're not making any money. You have no subscribers. And 6 months in, I didn't even have 1,000 subscribers. And I was kind of questioning myself, what am I doing here? I'm not even 1% of the way to my goal. And we're halfway through the year. And I was trying all sorts of different tactics. And eventually one video got some traction. It was a video about why the millennials don't do well in the workforce, from Simon Sinek. And he shared that video around. And for the first time, I had a video that was getting recommended by the algorithm. And all of a sudden, you see the power of the internet. All these subscribers start coming to your channel. And then it was just like a domino effect. Another one of my videos kind of started getting traction. And I guess that's kind of how content creation works, is like, it's not just steady. All of a sudden you'll get a big jump, and you live for those big jumps. And when you're going viral, it's like you're flying. It's pretty cool feeling. So literally on the exact date, on the day, I hit 100,000 subscribers. And I was like, okay, well, let's erase that and let's put something ridiculous because that worked. Let's put 2 million by next year. That didn't work. I guess the universe doesn't always answer exactly what you want, or maybe it can in certain ways. But my next video that really took off was a video I almost didn't even make. It's funny how that's like the video I'm known for, but it was why don't country flags use the color purple? And I'm always looking for these questions that you don't really ask, but once you see the question, you need to know the answer. Why does February have 28 days? You're like, why is that? That's weird. So I tried to find, kind of had this formula of like, find questions that nobody's answered before, but that people would really like to know the answer to. And hopefully they'll have these weird answers that you pull a thread and there's a lot more there. And this purple video, I guess it touched on something because it was a really strange answer, and every country around the world has a flag, so it was very global, and it got translated into a ton of languages, and uh, it got I think it hit the trending page. It got about 4 million views in a week, and that got me 100,000 subscribers that week. So that's pretty much how I started, and I've had to reinvent myself a few times, but that's kind of how the YouTube channel popped off.
Wow, man, that's an incredible story. There's so many things that I want to unpack there with you, just little bits and pieces. And one of the things that I had noted down that I wanted to ask you in this conversation, and you touched on it there, is just really like your content, right? Like you're a very your content is very philosophical, as I alluded to in the introduction. Where did that come from for you? Like who was there anybody in your life that was exposing you to philosophers like Alan Watts, right? Or were you reading philosophy, like ancient classic philosophy, like at a very early age?
That's a good question. Well, like I said, I had to reinvent myself a few times. So it's funny how when you start something, it tends to change courses many times. Uh, so you are starting a podcast now, and who knows, this might turn into like a food company in 2 years. Who knows?
It could.
You never know. So the philosophy side of the channel kind of stemmed from YouTube went through a lot of big algorithm changes, and what I was doing at early on stopped working completely. Like I was getting like 90% less views than I was in the beginning. And in the beginning, I was kind of chasing what I thought people liked. And after the big algorithm changes and everything went down, they call it adpocalypse, where this happened in 2017, I think. I was like, all right, let's take a step back. Let's make videos for myself. And it sounds selfish, but I'm like, I'm going to make videos for me that will improve my life. And I think everybody's on the same journey. We're just at different places. So if this resonates deeply with me, hopefully it will resonate deeply with other people. And so I kind of started looking more inwards on the videos and really sharing the ideas that impacted my life the most. Instead of making these cute little science videos, it was much more deep, existential, like why are we here? What's the meaning of life? Who am I? What do I want in life? I'm trying to answer these big questions because we all want to know who we are. We're all trying to figure out what we want, and these started to really hit, and I kind of just got on a rhythm, and people seem to really enjoy the philosophical, deep, make you think, and I really like to pick subject matters that after you're done with the video, it makes you think. You're sitting in your car on the way home, and you look at the world in a little bit different way. So those are the topics that I really enjoy touching on.
Mark, were these questions that you had at a young age too? Um, just about the world? Because I wonder, these are the kinds of things, obviously, as a fan of your channel, these are the things that I think about as well. But I can recall when I was younger, when I was a teenager, as a child, or even in like my early 20s, like these, you're so wrapped up in other things going on in life that you don't necessarily give yourself the time to think about these bigger questions.
Hmm. Yeah, like I said, I think we're all on this journey. We're just at different places. Nobody's ahead and nobody's behind, but we're just on this journey. And I guess it ultimately culminates in death, but and that can mean different things to different people. Death could mean the physical body, or it could mean the deterioration of your ego or something. But yeah, I just got lost. What was the question? I
It
was like,
was just
where am I going with this?
no, no, no. It's okay. Hey, man, I do that quite a lot, especially even being in the interviewer chair. There are honestly times, and I'm sure some of the viewers who and listeners to the show may notice this when my mind is going in different places, and then I catch myself and realize, wait, I think this was where I was originally
Is this
intending to
deep or
go.
is this really dumb?
Yeah, it's just it's there though. But my question to you was just again like, were you thinking about these things at a young age? You know, like you again, you alluded to changing the direction of your channel to go inward. But I wonder if these were questions that you were wrestling with when you were younger.
Hmm. Yeah, I think one of the philosophies that I got from Alan Watts that really impacted me the most is how to know what you want in life. And so what I wanted at age 18 is very different than what I wanted at 24, very different than what I wanted at 30. And so it's funny that when you get what you think you want, you realize that's not what you really wanted. You know, when you're 18, you think that you want to get drunk and get with some girls, go to a party. When you're in your 20s and 30s, you think, okay, I want money. I want a big house. I want a big car. Then you get those things and you're like, that's not, I still don't feel fulfilled. Why is that? What's going on here? And Alan Watts' theory is that you know why you don't know what you want is because you already have it. So these realizations have kind of led me to new ways of looking at life. And so, yeah, I definitely haven't always been into this philosophy stuff, but the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know, and the more I get attracted to these new ideas that make me question my view of reality. And uh, one thing that I think that I do have a skill for is I don't really get attached to any ideology. Like I try to see ideas for what they are and appreciate all the ideas. And I don't need to accept it. One of my favorite quotes is from Aristotle. It is the mark of an intelligent mind to uh, learn an idea without accepting it. So you can kind of, when you have that philosophy, you're free to just pick and choose. You're at a buffet of ideas, and you don't have to take everything and put it on your plate. And it just makes life a lot more fun. And if you get attached to an idea, sometimes you don't have an idea, and an idea will have you. You know, you get these ideas, and you can base your whole life on some idea that has you. And I was just listening to Jordan Peterson yesterday, and he was talking about this, that sometimes uh, ideas have us, not the other way around. And he had an interesting example. You hear a lot of people these days saying that they don't want to bring kids into this world. And he's like, where'd you get that idea? And I hear people saying that all the time. No, I don't want to have kids. I don't want to bring kids in this world. The world's overpopulated. And it's funny. It's like, where'd you get that idea? Oh, well, I heard that the earth had too many people. Well, where'd you get that idea from? I'm not really sure. You're going to base your whole life path on some idea that you just don't even know where it came from, really? Like, I'm not telling anybody to have kids or not have kids. I'm just saying sometimes these ideas, we don't know where they came from, and they can change the whole course of our life.
Yeah, I think we were talking about this a little bit before we started the podcast, and I was explaining to you why I enjoy doing this, so early on. And I really think that podcasting gives us an opportunity to become better question askers, right? Like I think of this as it's literally a training ground for me to ask better questions. And I think, this is getting, this is obviously getting beyond just content creation here on YouTube and creating content in general, but it's all related. Um, you know, I think if you ask better questions, the quality of your life will improve.
Hmm. Absolutely. Listening is a really undervalued skill, because a lot of times maybe we're just waiting to talk. And there's a quote I love from Plato. He says, wise men talk because they have something to say, fools because they have to say something. I love quotes. I'm always looking at quotes. Uh, So yeah, if there's nothing that you have to say, don't say anything. And um, so I'm usually like I was saying before the podcast, I'm much more of a listener. I'm not much of a talker. So for anybody listening out there that thinks I'm not making any sense, please forgive me.
No, you make total sense, man. Seriously, again, I really I think we tend to have a bias, and and watch, I'll try and tie this into the world of content creation as well. We have a tendency to think that the loudest person is in the room is the smartest person in the room. And so how I'm going to tie this into content creation, we tend to think that the people with the most followers, the most subscribers are the successful ones, right? Like you have, as I mentioned, you have close to 2 million subscribers on YouTube. That's great. But I get the sense from like chatting with you a little bit here now that hasn't changed you. It doesn't, I think you probably, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but you probably feel like, all right, I have this. It doesn't make me like any better than I was, before I had a million subscribers. And so a lot of people, when they go on this journey to create content, they're chasing the vanity metrics of, okay, I got to get to, a million subscribers or whatnot. And then when you get there, you realize, wait, this doesn't actually make me fulfilled, or I'm still feeling like an itch. There's still something more that I guess this wasn't the answer to I guess the problem that I had going into this whole thing.
Well, I will say in the case of getting to a million subscribers, that is actually not one of those things that when you get to what you want, you're like, this isn't what I wanted. When I got to a million subscribers, I like climbed up a mountain and I was just like, it was almost like too much to take in because it happened right in the early parts of the pandemic, which the pandemic has, there's good and bad to everything, has been pretty good for my channel because it's like doubled in size over this last 9-month period. Uh, but yeah, subscribers and followers, it's a very shallow metric, and uh, it really it can mean whatever you want it to mean. And some people put a ton of weight on it. And I've seen creators with a very small following have a really profound influence. I have a friend who has less than 100,000 followers, but if he tells his followers to check something out, to read some book, maybe like 5% of his followers, 20%, a good amount will actually check that out. Whereas me, if I say, hey, buy this shirt or buy this thing, maybe like 0.5% will actually check it out. So I'd say that, he might have less followers, but he has a higher influence. So there's many ways to measure these things, but yes, like the number of followers is a really easy thing to look at. And it's like everything's a balancing act. So like you kind of have to play the game. Uh, like just having a big following, it does have value and it does get your foot in the door to a lot of things. And uh, it's funny, you kind of have to play these games to get to a certain level. And once you get beyond this level, you can kind of write your own rules, which is nice. Um, in the beginning, I was chasing what I thought would get views, and now I'm kind of like, I basically can do whatever I want. That's the beauty of being a YouTuber. And now the viewers kind of have built up a good amount of trust, where they'll check out almost anything I put out now, which is nice.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm curious too, Mark, about just the influence of your upbringing as well. Like, I know that you're from San Francisco. I know you went to Lowell High School, man. I have one of my closest friends went to Lowell. There's a bunch of you Lowell people out there. I'm from the Bay Area. I went to Davis. I for college, so I ran into like a lot of people from Lowell. But San Francisco historically has been a very artistic and creative place. I mean, is that something that you think about in terms of the influence on your own artistic talent?
I have a very bittersweet relationship with San Francisco. But I'm thankful for that. And I'm really thankful for the teachers I had growing up. They were really encouraging. Uh, I think San Francisco's kind of spiraling down the drain right now. It's part of the reason why I left. And I feel bad for the students there now because they're kind of getting robbed of a lot of things. And uh, a lot of institutions are falling apart right now, not just education. And we're at a really interesting time where just people are waking up and they're seeing the truth for what it is, corruption for what it is. So I know I always sputter off on your questions and completely don't answer them. So yeah, San Francisco did play a big role in my life, but I think what played a bigger role in my upbringing is I'm half Japanese, half white, and it's like two very different cultures, and I got the best of both worlds. And so I think that Japanese side really informs a lot of my art and what I'm interested in, and kind of like the Zen ideas I'm into.
Mm. Which side of your family is Japanese, from your mother or your father's side?
But for some reason, it's always the mom. Are you also half?
I no, a lot of people think that I'm half like Hapa, but I'm actually full-blooded Filipino. Both my parents are both Filipino. I was born I'm first generation born here in the US, so my parents both immigrated from the Philippines in the late 70s, early 1980s. They met here and then they had me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of people, but again, I get that too. Like I've had people ask me if I'm half and half, and I usually tell them, no, I'm actually full Filipino. And so it's it's
Maybe there's
inter
back there somewhere. A lot of Filipinos and the Spanish did some mixing, right?
yeah, there well, my last name is Santiago, so as you know, like the interesting thing about that though, as we go tangentially here in this conversation, which is awesome, is my my father's father, my grandfather, he was old enough. He was born basically when the Philippines was still a colony of Spain. So he was technically still, when the Philippines gained its independence, a Spanish citizen. So it's kind of wild to think about that I'm basically like one or two generations removed from that history or era of the Philippines.
Wow. And who knows where we'll be in another generation.
I know, exactly. There's so many things that are changing and evolving, but it's quite exciting. Um,
Wow. And just, three generations, four generations back, our great grandparents were riding on horses, and
exactly.
it's insane.
Exactly. Like I mean, the February is Black History Month, and I've been like reading um the one of Frederick Douglass's books, My Bondage, My Freedom, and hearing him talk about obviously his experiences in slavery. And it's just wild to me to think like this wasn't really that long ago. Like he was writing this stuff in the what was it, 1860s, 1870s, 1880s. I'm not exactly sure the timeline there, but you know, he could potentially be like my great grandfather. That's it's not that far removed. And then when we see what's going on right now in terms of just all the changes, like again, touching on the content creation side of this, like you being a YouTuber, like this is not something that you dreamed of growing up because it didn't exist until we were like in our, and I think we're about the same age. You're in your early 30s too, correct?
Yeah.
So like this is something that we just, I mean, even when it started like in 2005, right? Like it wasn't like, oh yeah, this could be a career or whatnot. I mean, this is still a really relatively new phenomenon.
Exactly. And I'm a I did a video earlier this summer about how your subconscious gets built. And for the first 7 years of life, you don't have a consciousness. You're not conscious. You're in a lower brainwave frequency called theta, and you're basically absorbing all and building all your subconscious programs. And at the age of 7, you're kind of 95% of who you're going to be. And we operate 95% of our life on these subconscious programs. So why I'm saying this is because I was really blessed to have a dad when I was a little kid through my first 7 years who always, he was a serial entrepreneur. And he always said, never work for anybody but yourself. He always put that into me. It's just like, start your own business. And I remember from like the earliest age, I would always, my teachers, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I'd say, I want to start my own company. I want to work for myself. And the reactions you get from that are kind of funny. Like, and my dad is completely the opposite. My white dad's completely opposite of my Japanese mom. She's like worked the same job for 40 years. My Japanese side is all about stability and just like you never get divorced. You go to college, you become a doctor or dentist or whatever. And then my white side's just like kind of like let loose, free. We don't care about manners as much. But that combination is really good because I had like the stability that was pushing me from my mom, and then I got these ideas from my dad that was like, um, don't trade your time for money. That's a prison. Uh, Make sure if you want freedom, you got to work for yourself. If you want, you freedom is economic freedom, and so I kind of always set out knowing that I was going to work for myself, and I'm really lucky that a lot of people don't think that that's possible. But I think we're kind of moving towards this economy where there's so much automation happening that all these jobs, it's kind of sad, but all these jobs are getting replaced by robots now. And and we're kind of moving into an age where this is the good side, is everybody can really work for themselves. And one person can create a company that looks like it has 1,000 employees. Like one person can create a website, use Shopify for the shipping, use social media for branding. So one person can now create what looks to be a very professional, big enterprise. I mean, my buddy has a clothing company, and it literally looks like Banana Republic,
Mm.
and it's just him making these shirts, almost out of a garage. But it like you go to the website, and it's like you look at Banana Republic's website and you look at his, and you're like, I don't. This is incredible.
You
Like that
can't
one
tell the
person.
difference.
And so, like, I guess we're seeing, especially in Silicon Valley, is like the trend is disruption, disruption, disruption. You have a company like Airbnb, which is started by like three guys, and that disrupts the hotel industry and takes 40, 50% of the hotel industry's business. Group of three guys disrupts a massive multi-billion-dollar industry. Somebody creates Uber that disrupts, and um, yeah, the future that I see is just everybody will be working for themselves. And I've got it's kind of a cool story. I get emails all the time from people that want to work for me, which is kind of cool. But I don't really know what I don't have a work for them really. So I am trying to build a team, but I got an email from a girl who her skills were just off the charts. I was like, this girl's way too qualified to want to work for me. But she said it was her dream to work for After Skool. And I'm like, you know what? My intuition, follow your intuition. I was like, what's the worst that could happen if I just said yes? Sometimes that's all life's just about saying yes and showing up. And so I was like, sure, I don't know exactly what we can do, but I feel good about this. And you're really qualified. And I wouldn't say no to somebody as qualified as you. And so I just didn't see her working for me as an employee, though. It just didn't feel right. And I don't want to call somebody my employee or my worker. So instead of me really like paying her a paycheck and she works for me, I said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to start your own company and I will be your client. Okay. And I will feed you other clients. So then at the end of this, you'll have your own thing. And you'll be empowered. You're not going to be tethered to me and dependent upon me. And I see that as the future for a a lot of things. It's just everybody will work for themselves.
Yeah,
That's what I hope.
I hope so too, and I totally agree with you on that front. Just because, I mean, even we're seeing this happen now with creators like yourself, where you know, um, you got like a young guy like Mr. Beast on YouTube. This dude is got like 60 million subscribers, I think, at last count on YouTube. But the things that he's doing entrepreneurially are very interesting. Like, I don't know if you had heard he started this whole Mr. Beast burger chain of different hamburger shops and fast food restaurants around the country. And that all came from him just starting and creating content on YouTube. He had an
Yeah.
audience. He built an audience for himself, and he's just thinking very creatively of like, okay, well, I have people's attention. Now, can I basically pitch those people an idea in which there's an exchange of monetary value involved? And it's super fascinating, man. Like, these are the things that it's another reason why I enjoy doing this podcast and even just diving into this space of the quote unquote creator economy. I mean, imagine if Leonardo da Vinci lived during this era, right? Like, he had to rely on patrons to basically support him artistically and financially, right? But now you've got actual Patreon in which you can go to your audience and say, "Hey, I'm creating this stuff. Do you want to support me?" And just, you don't have to have, like, for you, for example, you got, again, almost 2 million subscribers. You don't necessarily need all of those 2 million subscribers paying you for your work. You only need a small percentage of them. And if you charge and price it appropriately, it could be enough. It could be totally enough. Like, have you heard of the concept of 1,000 True Fans by Kevin Kelly?
I have. Yeah.
Yes. So like that, right? Like, if you had, and I think this is how he puts it in that essay, is if you had 1,000 fans paying you $10 a month, that's $10,000 a month. That's $120,000 a year. That's more than enough to live on.
Oh, yeah.
In the United States. And in the United States and in the pretty much the entire world. Like, imagine now, especially working, doing your work, it can be done anywhere. So you could be in Colombia, you could be in Thailand or whatnot. And then there's potential arbitrage there, right? Because now you have the US dollar. It is worth more there than it is here, and your money goes a lot further. So I'm going on a diatribe here, man. Like, it's just but I'm just so fascinated by all of this, and so that's why I wanted to add that little thing there as far as my rant.
Oh, that was a good rant. Yeah. Like, are your listeners interested in like the monetizing side of YouTube? Do you get into that?
Yeah, for sure. Like, that is something I think, I had another guest on, one of the very first guests, and he's a perfect example of like the friend that you were talking about who has small YouTube channel, but he does well. Like, Owen Hemsworth, he has 60,000 subscribers on YouTube, and his niche is like teaching people how to do YouTube and whatnot. But he has found a way with 60,000 subscribers on YouTube to build a viable business out of that. Like, he gets enough clients, he gets enough leads from that to, fund his life, to support his family. He has a couple kids. He's married. He lives in Utah now. And we talked about this interesting concept of like brand deals. Like, most people, I think, are pursuing the idea of like, well, can I get a brand to sponsor me? Like, so I can read an ad or whatever on my YouTube channel. And the thing that he's told me that was so fascinating was like, why don't you go directly to a brand and say, hey, I can create this content for you, and then you can like repurpose it for whatever you want, because content is king now, right? And like, that's another way, almost essentially like what you were doing as a freelancer, right? That's another way to approach business with with companies. And so there's so many different ways to think about it.
It's funny that content creators and influencers, that term's so funny, but content creators and YouTubers, we have the opposite problems of big global companies where they have all this product and they've got to figure out how to reach people. And most YouTubers, we've got this ability to reach people, but we don't have like a product. We kind of started our channel
Yes.
without a product in mind. So I still am very far away from having a good product that represents my channel. I have like the merch, I have shirts and the prints. The prints have done really well. Uh, so that's good. But and then I have a book that's also done well. But I have some ideas to partner up with some companies. I think, um, yeah. But I've met up with a couple other YouTubers who have more of a material type um, brand where they talk about like cars or clothes, and it's very easy for them to push products like. And whenever I go to like one of their houses, I'm like, okay, clearly I'm not doing YouTube right because you live in like the beach. Like, um, I just met up with this young woman who has a much smaller following than me, and I saw her house, and I'm just like, okay, this is like a penthouse. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, clearly I am not doing YouTube right. And that same thing has happened multiple times where I'm like, okay, I need to like know what you're selling and like how you're pushing that because yeah.
What's her channel? What's her content?
This girl's name is well, I don't want to like put her on blast.
Oh, okay, if you don't want to do that, then that's okay. We won't. But like,
Yeah,
what's her niche at least? Like, you don't have to.
her niche is like spirituality,
Mm,
kind of psychic reading type
mm,
things.
okay. And so
Uh,
what kind of things is she selling? Like what's like her products? What are her services that she's
she's
pitching to her
selling
audience?
um, mainly crystals,
Mm,
which I know nothing about. So I guess I'm not her target audience.
yeah.
But when we were hanging out, she has a little sound effect that goes off on her phone whenever she makes a sale. It goes like ching.
On like Shopify, she has like a
Yeah,
Shopify store, I
that thing is
imagine.
going
Yeah.
off. I was
Yeah.
like, so every time we hear that sound, you just made money. And she's like, ah. And I'm like, okay. And I have a roommate, and I told her, oh yeah, I mentioned I have a roommate, and she was like, you have a roommate? I'm like, yeah, that's some people have roommates. They don't
Yeah.
all have like fat mansion on the beach. But yeah, some content is really easy to monetize and push products through, and others not so much. So I haven't really found like I feel a little disingenuous when I if I were to put out a very materialistic product um, after talking about like consciousness. You know, I don't want to push like Jack in the Box or Wendy's right after
Gotcha.
talking about how to
Yes.
like your body.
Yes. Yeah, and I mean, there's like this saying like that the riches are in the niches, and like you have a very specific you have a very specific angle with your channel. And I imagine like I would say like if I were, in your position, the way that I would think about it is like what are the things that I already use that I like? Like what are the products and services that actually are helping me reach that level of fulfillment in my life that I use on a daily basis. And then literally like just finding people and reaching out to them, like reaching out to, I would say, cuz me working in marketing and now knowing this, you want to be reaching out to people like myself who are like in the in those marketing positions. So literally like going on LinkedIn and looking up the marketing director or the marketing manager, those type of job titles, VP of marketing, anything having to do with marketing for like those companies, and just reaching out and like if you're sincere about it, you really like those things, like you're not having to fake it, right? You're not having to like write some sort of message that is self-serving, that is not true to you, like you use that product so you can speak from it um in good faith.
Yeah. Uh, I guess the end goal is to be as independent as possible. The more independence and the more responsibility you take, the more freedom you get. So, uh, yeah, I'm looking to just anywhere I can move towards freedom, move towards independence is really beneficial.
Yeah.
So yeah, starting my own companies, want to sell my own products, not somebody else's products, and maybe even go to my own platform. That could be the end goal as well. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely that too. I spoke, my last guest on the podcast, she had just started a clothing company last year that she runs on spot on not Spotify, Shopify. And it was so fascinating to talk to her because you could tell like the interest and the passion that she had on in just the business side. Like she was talking about how she had, went out and actually, investigated and sourcing her materials, talking to manufacturers and whatnot, building those kinds of relationships, right? Like it's very cool to hear that
Hmm.
happen. And look,
Like we were talking.
honestly, like yeah, honestly, like if you when you do that, like let me know because I'd be curious. I'd probably buy some of the stuff that you're making. I actually do. I have bought something of yours. I do have your
Oh,
book. Yeah,
wow.
I do have your book. I want to give this to a young person who could definitely
Wow.
like you know benefit from the message that that you're teaching in that book. But man, seriously, the sky is, I really think, the limit here.
Sky's the limit. Yeah, we live in a really amazing time where 50 years ago or 10 years ago, I would have had to go to a publisher, like one of the big publishers, to get that book made. And I did initially go to publishers to kind of shop that book around. And they all had their opinions. Their goal is to sell books, so they're gonna say, okay, they have their business model, and if your book doesn't fit into their business model, they're either not going to make it or they're going to make you change your book. And I was very dead set on that book idea, and they weren't. They wanted to change it. They wanted to make a chapter book for teenagers, and I wanted to make a picture book for kids. So, the great thing about this day and age is, okay, you take your idea and you go to a self-publisher and you upload your PDF and you put it on Amazon, and you own it now. Um, so it's a really empowering time where, before one person couldn't, if the publisher didn't want it, I had no options. But now, if one person doesn't like it, you're empowered. You can make it happen on your own, which is great.
Yeah,
Yeah, my cousin's a rapper, and uh, a record label doesn't like his song. Okay, he'll just put it on all the platforms himself, and it gets tons of views. And he owns his brand, and he isn't answering to anybody else, which is very empowering.
yeah. It's you have a very, I think creators like you have a very, you're in a very unique position in which you can have a direct relationship with the people who consume your work. Like you said, you don't have to ask. There's no need for you to ask for permission from somebody to publish a book. Like if the publishers don't want it, then fine, you can go and self-publish it yourself on Amazon. And I think that's, like you said, what you were talking about earlier, like moving toward this economy of people mostly working for themselves. And
It's
I
really.
just, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you say.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, no, no. What did you say?
Oh, we're just at a really wild time where I'm looking at all these industries, big, old institutions like the mainstream news, Anderson Cooper, CNN, primetime, he gets like 500,000 views a night. Where there's a guy in his kitchen who flips on his iPhone and talks
Yeah.
to it, and he uploads that video, gets 2 million views. And Anderson Cooper gets paid $50 million a year. All the production that goes into it, the camera, the sponsorships, all and they're not getting as much attention as this dude in his kitchen. And so these old institutions are kind of looking at what's going on, and it's like this changing. I don't know if it's hard to say if anything's good or bad, but it's interesting that the way we're consuming content is different. The same thing's happening in education. I just had a meeting last week with a movie producer named Brian Grazer.
Oh,
He's produced
wow.
billions of dollars of movies, like a bunch of Jim Carrey and Eddie Murphy movies. And we had a meeting, and it was just interesting that here's a guy who makes movies for theaters. These are like big budget films, and he's trying to figure out what YouTubers are doing now. And you see all these people coming, all these professional, big, old institutions are coming backwards into YouTube, and into like these open enterprises, like Jimmy Kimmel and all these late night. Like it seems like every celebrity, Will Smith, they're trying to be a YouTuber now, because the old way is kind of the old model is just it's a very exclusive thing, just like school. Like, why would you pay $60,000 a year to go to like some state school when you could get the best lectures in the world? If some Stanford lecturer just uploads his lectures, you can just watch those on YouTube for free. So all these old like exclusive models are kind of falling apart, which is nice. And we're entering into a very empowering, free, open age.
Yeah, and I think it's so important to like teach the younger generation about this as well, because I think they're going to school, and I think this is why your channel is so useful and so valuable for everyone. I think it's something that obviously me as an adult, I like watching it and it's engaging for me, but obviously like the illustration element is can be engaging for younger audiences as well, right? And so you're able to like, communicate these very big ideas and have it reach a broad spectrum where it resonates with both young and old people. And
Mhm.
again, as I'm talking about here with young people, like, you know, you there's an opportunity now where I think it's so important to really um be a lifelong learner and be self-motivated to teach yourself. Like for me personally, Mark, like I remember, being in my early 20s thinking like right after I graduated college, I was like, all right, it's game time. Like I've done all
Mhm.
my education. Now it is time to actually go out and produce in the world and actually like make money and do all of these things that you're supposed to do, be an adult, so to speak. But the my brain kind of shut off to like the the idea that I had to keep learning.
Mhm.
I had to keep continuing to learn. Like I was learning a lot on the jobs that I had, right? But I would even say like I kind of reached a point in my mid to late 20s where it kind of that muscle or that desire to like explore my curiosity had kind of calcified.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until, even like the last few years, really like maybe the last 5 years where I realized like, your learning is not done yet. You
Mhm.
have to keep evolving. You have to keep learning. You have to want to have this thirst for knowledge that will never be fulfilled, but that's okay. Like it's just the process of it. You'll just enjoy it
Mhm.
going forward, and embrace it. And it's so important now these days, just with the way the world is going, right? Like like we were talking about, YouTube did not exist when we were kids, and now we have like TikTok that's blowing up, right? Like who knows if that's going to stick or if it's going to go away too, or if something else is going to come along and become like the next platform that you have to learn how to use. Maybe it's this, Clubhouse now, right? But
Yeah.
you're always constantly just having to, and that's why I like what you said earlier about just be flexible with your ideas.
Mm,
Like in your book right here, like I loved it. I'm gonna read the ending here.
man.
um it was very poignant to me what you said. um Pull it up. You said this, perhaps things we consider valuable today will become worthless in the future, and vice versa. What things do we take for granted that may one day become precious? Water, oxygen. Maybe you will be the next great inventor who changes the world, right? Like there's so
Mm.
many things that we thought were like we thought, oh hey, like this is super valuable. It's worth millions and millions of dollars. And that 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 concept is always constantly changing.
That's why it's so important to always be learning, because I think the people that can adapt are the ones that stay successful. If you It kind of makes me think of like the coolest people in high school. They kind of hold on to that high school life forever.
Yes.
And that's the guy you see at the 10-year reunion, still wearing his Letterman jacket, and he never left the hometown or something. Um, yeah, like our society, our culture, we celebrate innovators and entrepreneurs. As much as we're told that you're supposed to do well in school, the sad thing is if you do super well when you're young in school, it's almost better to be like an A- student, I think, because if you like are a really good student and school is your thing, you're going to double down on school and you're going to be like, this is my thing, and you're going to go to grad school, and then you're going to be an academic and you're going to be an intellectual. And I think a lot of intellectuals are really bitter because they're not celebrated in our society. And of course, they'll hate capitalism because capitalism does not celebrate these intellectuals that are super smart at the schools. And so, of course, they're going to be really bitter about these B students that are creating these huge companies. Um, so yeah, it's important. I'm not saying one is right and one's wrong, but it's just really good to not get super attached to one thing, and be able to be fluid, and when adversity hits, you can either kind of shrink and shield yourself away from it, or you can grow from it. So I've been thinking about adversity a lot lately,
Yeah, I mean
especially in
that's
2020. Yeah.
100%. 2020 even going in here to 2021, right? Like it's still, I mean, what is it? Like Winston Churchill had the saying that it's sometimes ascribed to him. We don't know if he actually said this, but never let a good crisis go to waste. I mean, again,
Hmm.
you and I are like around the same age group, so we both like emerged out of the last financial crisis. And I
Hmm.
don't know about you. I'd be curious to hear. Feel free to touch on this, on your experience here. But I can remember when I graduated from college in 2009 and talking to adults. I worked in broadcast radio when I first got out of college, um, which is why I love podcasting now.
Yeah,
but
I
but
get it.
I remember talking to um, just my coworkers and colleagues who were obviously more experienced, and a lot of them were just not optimistic at all. They were like, "Sorry, Jonathan, you're screwed." I was like 22 years old, thinking to myself, "God dang, like I guess the future is not bright for me." And I look back at that and think about how that colored a lot of my perceptions of the way the world worked, and even the way that I operated in the world for the following like decade. It really left a huge mark on me. And it really wasn't until like the last again, maybe like within the last 5 years. I'd say like 2016 was my turning point because I had left the country to go and travel. I first time like just backpacking in Europe for like 7.5 months.
Oh,
And 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 then I started to just kind of, see things a little bit differently and just now have a little bit more optimism for myself. So,
yeah, it's there's something that Alan Watts talks about, the story of the Chinese farmer and how you never know if anything is going to be good or bad.
mhm.
The Chinese farmer finds a bunch of horses and he's like, "Oh, I'm probably telling this wrong, but he's like, oh, cool, horses. Yeah, this is great." And then he puts his son on the horse, and the horse bucks, and the son falls off and breaks his leg. And he's like, "Oh, this is so bad." But then the next day, the Chinese military comes through town picking soldiers for the army, and they see the son has a broken leg, doesn't pick him. They said, "Oh, this is great." So it's like, you never know if something, like the story, I think it keeps going on with like things that you think are good, but they lead to something bad, and then something bad leads to something good. So like Winston Churchill said, never let a good crisis go to waste, is like, yes, 2020 might seem bad and we can shield ourselves away and we can, close off from the world and do that. But with any disaster, war, or crisis, there's going to be winners and losers. And as we're seeing with the economy right now, the winners are winning big time. They're getting bigger. Anybody who's winning is multiplying their winnings right now. And if you're able to stay calm in a time of adversity and kind of, instead of react, just see things as they are and learn. This is a learning experience. And where are the opportunities? Because in times of difficulty, some will see opportunity and some will see difficulty in every opportunity. Wait, let me try to say that again. There's a quote that I love. I forget who it's by, but it's some see uh, difficulty in every opportunity, and some see opportunity in every difficulty.
Mm,
So it's just the way you look at things.
yeah. So much of it is so much of how we live our lives is dependent on just our point of view, right? Like in our perspective and what's coloring that perspective. Like I said earlier about my whole experience, right? Like when this happened last year, when COVID happened, I was like to myself, of course, natural human reaction is still to have fear and to have some uncertainty and to have some doubt. Um, but at the same time, there was a part of me that was like, all right, this is a chance now to to really, maybe do some things differently, like
Mhm.
just turn things around. And again, I'm not trying to say to anybody who is listening or watching that I'm like this ultimate, motivational figure who was like, go, go, go. I definitely had like a period at the beginning of the pandemic where all I did was watch the NBC sitcom Scrubs for like a month because it was like just not it was hard, but you know, eventually those moments pass. Like,
Mm.
the both the happy moments in your life and both the negative moments, they ultimately pass. It's just always these peaks and valleys. And so you're always just trying to like, it's like surfing, just like riding the waves of life, I think.
Mm. Absolutely. Yeah, everything passes. And it's so important to hold on to the good things in this world. They'll get you through the dark times. And on the other side, when the sun's shining, it will shine ever brighter. So,
Yes.
change is inevitable. Everything will pass, and you just keep your head up and always learn. Everything's a learning moment.
That's well said. By the way, Mark,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, like, are we good on time? I don't want to like take too much of your time here, but
Yeah, I'm pretty good. So,
we can keep going.
yeah, sure.
Okay, fantastic. Because there's definitely, I definitely want to dive into, um, just your process as a creator, as a creative person. Um, can you walk me through that? You're in your. This is this like your office basically?
This is the studio. It's I know the life of a YouTuber seems glamorous, but as you can see behind me, it's not that special. It's a lot of just dirty dark hours in this room, sniffing markers, getting lightheaded. uh, and so usually I have like several projects going at once. There's like an idea phase, but yeah, generally there's like I'm always kind of looking for content, writing ideas down. I'll get inspiration from a conversation like this, and I'll write down several things. And I've got like a list of thousands of topic ideas, and then I basically just go out into the world and have conversations with people and see if that topic is something that they're interested in. And I try to talk to all different types of people. It's easy to get stuck in a little bubble of like your friends that are all the same age with the same background, but you go across different demographics. It's so important to talk to people from all walks of life and just get their opinion on something. And a lot of times I'll mention a topic and it won't get much of a response from people. People are like, "Oh, okay, yeah, sacred geometry, cool." And it could be something I'm really into, but
Hmm.
then I'll be like, "Hey, you ever wonder why no countries have purple on their flag?" And be like, "What? Why is that?" And they'll flip out, and I'll just gauge their reaction there. I'll say, "Oh, okay, you know what? This is something that people really want to know about. All right, I'll make this video." And then I used to write almost all my scripts, and it was all original content. But now I'm definitely known for doing animations for other people. Just basically because those videos have done so much better than the ones where I write the script myself. But I don't want to move too far away from original content. I always want to have a little bit of original content coming out. So, um, yeah, I either write the script myself or I reach out to somebody and I say, "Hey, look, I really loved your talk. Would it be okay if I use this?" And 99% of the time, they're happy to let me use it. Sometimes we even do a collaboration where we work on the video together. We'll create something from scratch. Like I did one earlier this year with Sam Harris, where he created it from scratch, and that's a cool experience. To like, it feels like we really worked on it together from brainstorm to finish. But once I have the content laid out, it's all written out. I will kind of storyboard out the video, just like plan it out on graph paper. All right, are there going to be some characters that reoccur throughout the video? At this point, I've made so many videos that it's almost like I can be on autopilot and make the video like nice.
Yeah.
And I record everything on an actual whiteboard. A lot of people think it's a software program, but it's all done right here on not a very big whiteboard either. This thing's only like 4 or 5 feet wide.
So that's the actual whiteboard that you use to draw
That's
all of your illustrations.
a whiteboard. It's a special whiteboard though from the 80s,
Oh
and
wow.
it's not that glossy, but the ink, it's just I've bought so many whiteboards, and this one's the oldest one I could find, and it's great.
Where did you
And
get it?
I got it from a school. Yeah. And I basically had to swap this one out for a new one.
Gotcha.
But yeah, then I take all the footage. I used Final Cut Pro to edit, and the whole process, generally about a 10-minute video, will take a little over 100 hours, I'd say, give or
Wow.
take. Uh, but it used to take like 300 hours. And so I've just gotten more efficient as this goes on. And so now it's just like I can just turn these things out. And yeah, I'm pretty much a one man show. So then I upload it to YouTube. I release a video once every 2 weeks on Tuesday at 9 a.m. And I've stuck to that schedule for since day one, pretty much. It's always been Tuesday at 9 a.m. just because I feel like internet traffic kind of peaks throughout the middle of the week and people
Hmm.
are on the internet less over the weekend. So I kind of want to catch that wave of, I feel like it peaks middle of Wednesday and then starts to go down a little bit. Like I was thinking about doing a Kickstarter and they always say, release your Kickstarter on like Tuesday morning. I don't know what it is about Tuesday mornings, but then you catch this big wave of people like on the internet. And then, on the weekend, I guess they're out, they're on the internet a little less, but nowadays in 2020, people are on the internet every day, all day. So it barely matters. But I'm still stuck on Tuesday, 9 a.m. And you go. The funny thing is, you go to YouTube, and I've been to YouTube headquarters several times, and you talk to other YouTubers, and you're always like, "What's the secret?" You know, people always want to know what are some tips that you can give me to grow my channel. Do you have any like secret cool advice? And the best advice I can give is like the most unsexy tips ever. And people are always really let down when I tell them, but it's just be consistent. And they're always let down when I say that. They're like, all right, yeah, thanks. Like that is something to not be taken lightly because that's how you build trust with your audience. And trust is everything. Um, and so up like everybody knows that on Tuesday at 9 a.m. that after school video is coming out. And they also know that they can trust that it's going to be worth their time. Because if I make one bad video, which I definitely have, that hurts our trust. And then the next time they see that after school video come out at 9 a.m., they're like, that last experience wasn't worth my time. And you start to lose. So it takes a very long time to gain trust, very short time to lose it. So every video's got to be a banger. Every video has to provide a great amount of value to their lives. Otherwise, it's just not worth the time. So yeah, I think it's gotten to a point where the trust it feels good. Like I have a really good relationship with the followers. The comments are really positive. The like to dislike ratio is like 99% to 1%. So uh, and that's increased over time. It used to be like 50-50. You know, they
Mm.
really didn't like that millennial video in the beginning. So uh, that's kind of the process. And then, you know, you want to promote your video. And luckily, there's all these different avenues to promote through Reddit and Instagram. And one of the best ways to promote a video is to get somebody with a big following to share it as well. So, one thing that's helped me is I've done several Joe Rogan videos, and he's got a massive following, and he's been nice enough to share some. And so when he'll share a video, it really helps. Uh, Yeah, and it just gets easier. I think the hardest part is getting started with anything. Like, you know, the first step on this staircase is like 10 feet high. But once you get over that first step, it's like regular stairs. And yeah, the ideas just keep coming. And now it's at a point where I'm really blessed where people are coming to me with their very best ideas and presenting them to me and saying, would you make a video out of this? And it's a really cool position to be in. Um, like we were mentioning, like just who I get to talk to on a weekly basis is really cool because I have this like imposter syndrome. Like, who am I? You know,
Mm.
I'm just some dude that is talking to Paul Stamets this morning, the mushroom expert, uh, Les Stroud, the Survivor Man, 10-20 seasons on Discovery Channel, Brian Grazer last week, and um, all sorts of people. I was just talking to two different UFC fighters,
Wow.
ex UFC champions. I'm a big MMA fan, so I really like talking to UFC fighters and picking their brain about things. And yeah, it's just like it's kind of like the way I consume content and information. It's like a buffet. I talk to this scientist, I talk to this philosopher, comedian. So uh, yeah, just not setting any limits on yourself is great.
Man, are these people reaching out to you directly, or are you sending out inquiries to them? Like, for example, with the video that you did with Sam Harris, was that a result of him just finding your content and then somebody on his team or even him directly saying, "Hey, it'd be cool to work together on something, like can we connect?" I mean, what does that look like?
Yeah, initially it was me reaching out to everybody, but as it gets bigger, um, more authors and people are coming to me who want me to present their work, and it's cool because you can present somebody's best work, their whole life's work in 10 minutes. Like, okay, what's your best 10 minutes? And you can put that forward. And it really puts people in this position where they have to summarize their best ideas. And um, Yeah. And so yeah, more people are coming to me now than ever, and it's just awesome.
How is it having to manage all of this um inputs coming in, right? Like now, you go from the guy reaching out to everybody and trying to get people's attention to now there are lots of people who want your attention, right? Like you mentioned earlier, you had a young woman reach out to you and said, I want to work for After Skool. I want to be your employee. Now you have some of these authors, these writers, influential figures, from traditional media even reaching out and saying, "Hey, can we collaborate together?" I'm really curious about how you process all of that, and to add a second part to that, how do you um, how do you deal with saying no in a way that is both um, constructive, but also not something that kills the relationship completely?
That's a great question because saying no is an important skill. If you say yes to too many things, you're going to be busy just doing things. You're going to be busy, but you won't be productive. So one of the most important things is to not have goals, but have priorities. If you have priorities, it nicely categorizes everything. So it filters things out. If it's not the priority, it doesn't get it doesn't get looked at, and that can help you manage your time. So busy people have goals, productive people have priorities. So I try to remember that all the time. And I also really love every aspect of this. I I read almost every comment. Like, as insane as that sound, I read almost every YouTube comment.
How long does that
And
take you?
not too long. I don't get like, I probably check the comments for the first couple weeks on a video, and then I just stop looking at it. But in the
Mm.
beginning, I check every comment. I read just about every email. I read almost every Instagram message. It's actually me. It's not like an assistant or anything. And I am getting to the point though where I can't read all of them. And like we were saying, how do you say no without turning away a fan, or like, people come to me and sometimes a guy will send me like a 20 paragraph email, and I feel bad because I'm like, okay, this person spent a lot of time on this, but I also don't have 20, 30 minutes to read all these long emails. So it's like, how do you um like, some of these people come into you are like Icarus with their wings, and you don't want their wings to melt and then they just fall away and they don't like you and they resent you. You want to kind of nurture those relationships. So I never want to overpromise and underdeliver. So I kind of try to manage any expectations from the beginning. Say, hey, look, I'm sorry, I'm really busy. Um, I can't really help you, but feel free. I usually offer them my content because all I want is the content to get out. And so, like, a teacher will say, hey, can you help me make a video? Or say, look, I'm sorry, I don't have time to do that, but feel free to use any after school piece of art that you like. Like, you can, it's meant to be shared. So usually they're like, oh, thank you. Like, or I'll share some of the art with them. I have a folder with all the art in it, and I'll share that to them. And now they have access to all the high resolution art pieces. So they'll be, oh, thank you. And that's really easy to share. So um, it's kind of like you say no, but you also give them something so they don't, that makes you let them, they're like, I understand you're busy, but thank you for at least responding, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense to me, man. Like just I think even like for example, I mean, I reached out to you directly. I sent you an email. And uh, when I send out these emails to reach out to people to be guests on this show, my expectations are quite low. I have people who I'm like I would love to have them on, but I don't expect them at all to. You don't owe me anything. Like you don't know me. Like you're not. We this is the first time we're meeting, so I don't feel as if okay, if Mark never responds to me, then he's a terrible person. But I do get the sense though, and I feel this way too, from just like the past work that I've done in the past, where you feel like, oh, if I don't respond to this person, then maybe they're gonna think poorly of me. When in real, or if I say no to this person, they're gonna think poorly of me. When in reality, like, especially from someone like you who has, again, quite a few subscribers on your YouTube channel, just to be acknowledged, just to be seen is, I think, that's cool in itself. Like, it amazes me. I'm honestly amazed that you came on this podcast, to be honest.
Oh, man. Thanks for
So
having me. Yeah.
I've had a couple people who I'm like, holy crap, like, they're coming on this podcast, and I just
Well,
reached out to them, and or even the ones who just responded and took the time to decline, it's awesome for me, like, when I have that.
well, it's wild. I think I got this from Tim Ferriss, the book 4 Hour Work Week. Uh, you'd be amazed by how many responses you get from just sending out emails. Like you could email George Bush, Bill Clinton, Obama, and Trump. You could try to find their email somehow, and you would probably get an email back from one of them. Probably not, actually. I don't know. Like, you could email like five. Maybe this is from Tony Robbins. Actually, I don't know. But you email five people you admire, and like one of them will get back to you. And it's important to have role models and people that. And I always make an effort to get in touch with people that I admire. Maybe I'm just like a fanboy. Like I fanboy out hard.
Yeah.
um, yeah, because it's like they've paved the way, so you don't have to do everything for the first time yourself. You don't have to like force your way through these. You can look at the path they took and just kind of warp speed go down that path. And I've gotten really good advice from the people that I admire. And Paul Stamets, the I don't know if your audience knows this guy, but he's the mushroom expert. And I've had the pleasure of talking to him this morning, but on several occasions, and he's given me some good advice. And when a wise, older, successful person gives me advice, I listen to it. And I think it's important to seek advice. A lot of advice that comes to us is unsolicited, and it's kind of useless. Like, I don't want advice that I didn't ask for. But at the same time, you should seek out some advice. I don't know everything, and nobody else does. So it's good to always kind of have that like northern star to navigate. Like, where am I going, and like, why am I doing this? If you know why you're doing something, you can conquer any how. So know your why.
Yeah, and and again, going back to what we're talking about in terms of just the age that we live in, right? With the internet, the world is a much smaller place,
Mm.
like, and again, creators like yourself, people who are making content on YouTube, or if it's Instagram or now TikTok or whatnot, like, you are normal people. You are not. I think there's a tendency for, like, the audience, especially if they haven't necessarily created anything or published anything themselves, to kind of think of you guys as like on a higher plane. But in reality, it's like, no, the only difference is that you decided to press publish, and
Right.
this person just hasn't yet, and you've just done it, like you said, consistently over time, and then you've built up that audience.
Yeah, and just reach out to people you admire, and you'll get a response from somebody. And it was funny last week. I heard a song from my favorite musical artist DJ. His name's Gareth Emery, and I was like, I get an idea for a music video from this song. So I wrote him. I said, hey, look, you mind if I tell you my idea for a music video? And there's no concerts now, so he's just sitting at home in his pajamas,
Uh-huh.
like, yeah, sure. I'd love to hear your idea about a music video. And I told him this long idea, and he read this whole thing, and he loved it so much. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna make this. And like, we were going through like the budget of the scenes, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna cut you into this next video. And I'm like, okay, like, you have an idea. and you can either act on it or not. But there's really nothing to lose if you act on it. I mean, if you lose, you go back to right where you started.
Yeah. I did the same thing too. And I'm doing this quite a bit. And aside from like reaching out to people to come on the podcast, is for example, I'll subscribe to email lists like people who I admire. Substacks is growing now. There are a lot of good newsletters out there, and sometimes I'll just respond back to the newsletters, and the creators of those Substacks will respond to me. A week ago, I was listening to the Moment podcast with why is his name escaping me right now? The creator of Billions, the TV show. And he also created Rounders. Um well, anyways, he had Brian Koppelman is a guy who I'm thinking of. And he had Adam Grant, who is the an author and a professor at the Wharton School of Business, wrote one of my favorite books called Give and Take. And there was something that they talk about on that podcast that I said, "Oh, I have something to contribute. Let me send them an email and pass along this item that I think might be interesting to them." And I sent them an email, and lo and behold, like within 24 hours, Adam Grant responded back to me and said, "Thanks, I'm gonna check this out. Thank you for passing it along." The same thing happened too. I reached out to Mark Manson, the author of the Orange Book, The Subtle Art. Right? I, I was listening to a Tim Ferriss episode where he had Michael Phelps on, and Michael Phelps talked about how that was one of his favorite books. And
Hmm.
I sent it over to Mark. He's like, "Wow, I didn't even know Michael Phelps read my book. Thanks for passing this along." And so just little things like that. It's just it's possible to do now.
Yeah, you never know who's watching your stuff, and you never know who's going to respond. I get messages from people, and I'm blown away. I got a message the other day from Jaden Smith,
Oh,
Will,
wow.
and he said how much he loved my videos, and I was like, "Who is this guy?" I was like, "Wait a second, the guy from Pursuit of Happiness." I remember when they filmed that in San Francisco. And like, this guy's watching my videos, and he's this big star. Uh, Brian Grazer, the makes movies like Friday Night Lights and The Mask and Liar Liar, Blue Crush, these huge movies. He's watching the YouTube channel, and he's like, "Oh yeah, me and Kevin Hart watched your video." Yeah, I showed it to him, and I'm like, "Dude, that's crazy." And like, yeah, it's pretty surreal, to be honest. Yeah.
It's wild. Like I'm curious when you reach out to some of these people, like you mentioned the artist Gareth Emery, Sam Harris. How are you going about finding their contact information?
Uh, Typically, it's just through their website, and they got a contact form, and but they read those.
Mm.
They don't have that contact form for nothing. I think email is still the best way to get in touch with somebody. Instagram messages are probably the second best way. Usually get a response there. And yeah, my Instagram messages are filled with like blue check marks, and it's pretty cool. Like a lot of these people, I don't know what they do, how they got so big, but I talked to like politicians, and I was talking to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. the
Oh,
other week.
wow.
I love that guy. He's my dude. And unfortunately, they just kicked him off of Instagram. So the conversation just says like anonymous Instagrammer. It doesn't even say his name anymore. But I was talking to Tulsi Gabbard a couple weeks ago. Who's A lot of these people have been on the Joe Rogan podcast, and that's if I like the Joe Rogan podcast episode they did, then I'll reach out to them. And a lot of these people want to be contacted. They like feedback, and if your email stands out, they'll get back to you. Yeah,
There
especially now when 2020 people are just sitting at home reading their emails all day. There's nothing
yeah,
else to do.
exactly. A lot of people have free time. One other thing I want to ask you about your process is just collecting ideas and organizing it. do you have some sort of system for this? Like, do you carry around, for example, like a notebook with you everywhere and just kind of jot things down as they come to mind?
I try to. Here's one, but this one's like pretty empty. But yeah, I usually like to have a notebook around me, uh, just to get ideas down. And yeah, I don't have like a strategy. Like I'm not like I didn't design this like grand curriculum to put people through. Like I'm like learning as I go. And I think that is why people like the content, because we're all like learning as we go. And I'm not presenting myself as like this wise teacher that's like above. Like I'm literally like, ignorant. I'm like as ignorant as anybody watching the video. So I'm trying to like filter this information down in a way that I can understand. And I'm a visual person, and a lot of people are visual learners. So I am trying to find the best visual to make myself understand what this concept is. And some of these concepts are really abstract and or very complex. And so uh, I think that's one of my skills is just being able to take, usually I do one image per sentence of a video. Let's take that sentence and let's filter that down. What is the best visual to represent that sentence? And sometimes I can't think of a visual and I'll just write it out. And the cool thing is we all have different styles of learning. Some people read things to learn, some are sort of audible, some people or a lot of people are visual, some people have to actually do the thing to experience it, to learn. And the cool thing about the whiteboard animation style, and I think it's why it's still relevant, is it kind of combines all four, where you're watching it, you're getting a visual experience, you're hearing it. A lot of the things are getting written out as well to like reinforce. So you're seeing it in writing as well, and you're also seeing the hand draw it. So it kind of almost feels like it's your hand a little bit, and you get the sense that you're drawing it, but you're almost like at the edge of your seat, like what's the next thing that's going to get drawn? And I don't know, there's something in your brain that just gets a sense of pleasure from watching people like do work in front of you. And like, I love those like DIY videos where somebody's like cooking and you just see their hands, or they're like welding something and you're like, what are they making? Like, what's the final product going to be? So yeah, I don't have like a grand strategy, but just whatever interests me at the time. So like the next video coming out is on how to change your genetics. And there's some interesting ideas and evidence that show that you can change your genetics, which for a long time we thought that your genetics determined your destiny. So that one's coming out in a few days, and that's kind of a collaboration. So I barely worked on it. It was actually a much needed break. So they did most of the work, almost all of it, but I still put it on my channel, and people have tended to like those collaborations. The one after that is from Eckhart Tolle, one of my favorite authors
Mm-hmm.
from The Power of Now. And this one's kind of about the ego and what the ego is. It's a really simple explanation of how you are not your thoughts, how your true self is kind of all the material things. Once those are stripped away, that's the true you, that's your true essence. And um, yeah, it's a very empowering idea. I think that's kind of like that video checks all the boxes of one that will do really well. And then, so the next video after that is from a female, a woman named Vandana Shiba. She's a really motivational, she's in agriculture, and she's got some really enlightening ideas around agriculture. So I usually try to like to have a little buffer zone of videos finished already. And I'm planning on going on a little vacation, much needed vacation. Like 2020, I like pushed myself to the limits. Like I was working from sun up to sundown like every day because there wasn't anything else to do. So I was just like, I had never worked and just churned out videos like I did in 2020. But it really but the cool thing is when you push yourself that hard, you kind of like break through a new threshold and you're like, oh, now everything below that threshold is easy. Like I've had times where I just put out a 2-hour video in December. And that was like, before I did that, I was like, this is a mountain. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And now, after doing a 2-hour video, A 20-minute video is like, oh, okay, I can do that. But before, when I was doing 2-minute videos, a 20-minute video would have seemed like insanity.
Mm.
So you push yourself, you see how far you can push yourself, you get stronger, and things seem to get easier.
So how far in advance are you planning out the concepts that you're creating? Like what's like your backlog,
Um,
of content?
so yeah, like I was telling you, I have many projects kind of in the works. Like, so I'm actively working on a video that will come out in like the end of March. So I have the video for March 2nd done, and the video for mid March done, and this one's for the end of March. I try to be like about a month ahead or
Mm.
a couple weeks ahead. Um, but I don't want to get too far ahead. Sometimes I've actually tripped over myself and gotten too far ahead. Uh, and then you don't want to be tone deaf. You don't want to in the middle of uh, like the Black Lives Matter protest or something, you don't want to put out some video that's about uh, like hamburgers or cheese. I don't know. You kind of want to make a video that's like
Yes.
relevant to what's going on.
Mhm.
So when the election was coming out, I made a video that was kind of a commentary on the election. When the riots were happening in the Capitol, I kind of made a video that it wasn't exactly about that, but it was like attuned to the energy of what was going on in the world. And you don't want to like be tone deaf, so you don't want to be late to the dance. You don't want to like I wouldn't make a video right now about yeah, I don't know. Like when coronavirus first hit, I felt like you have to make a video about coronavirus. Like you
Mhm.
can't just not acknowledge like this huge thing that's happening. So as a creator, I almost felt obligated to make some video about coronavirus because like you can't come out with a video that's like not about coronavirus back in March. Um, so yeah, I don't want to get too far ahead because then I'm a little like I can't predict the future. So you want to stay within range of what's going on, but I've got projects like in the works with other creators. I've conversations going about like brainstorming. Like I just had a brainstorming session with Les Stroud, the Survivor Man, today
Mhm.
about, and we're gonna, he'll present to me his 6 ideas that he thinks would be a good animation, and then I'll pick that idea, and then we'll do that video. So, um, and usually it takes from the moment of like the brainstorm idea to the final, it takes like usually 2 months, roughly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to ask you, Mark, as we start to wrap up here on this podcast, is just processing feedback. Um,
Mm.
you know, processing, deciphering between what is constructive criticism and just downright like hate for no obvious reason. Like this is something that I've talked about with the few creators now that I've had on the podcast, is just dealing with the negativity that comes with publishing work, and the criticism that comes out from people who, you know, maybe all they want to do is just be a keyboard warrior for whatever reason on your content. How do you do that?
Well, I love criticism, and I'm fortunate where it's not me in the video, so it's not like a personal attack on me. The great thing about what I do is people have to address the content in the video, so they can't be like, "Oh, this guy's Japanese. Screw this guy. He doesn't know anything."
Mm.
They don't know who I am, so like they have to like maybe they can insult my drawing, but who cares? Like, um, they have to address the video on the content, and that's how I feel like we should address people. On we shouldn't um, address them as a member of a group. We should address them as an individual on the quality of their character, on the content of who they are. That's how I want to be addressed, at least, and that's how I address other people. But yeah, as far as criticism, I think it's pretty easy to distinguish between who's just a troll who's got a frustrating life and is like they had a hard day and they just get on the keyboard and they're just saying mean things. Like that's pretty easy to just shrug off. And then there's like sometimes there's comments that are really well thought out, and you got to like listen to your audience. It's important to listen to them, because yeah, it's really important because they'll help you learn for sure.
So, Mark, like as we wrap up here, was there anything that you wanted to touch on that I didn't get to ask you about?
You know what's funny that happened today that has never happened to me ever? I actually got recognized.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was the weirdest thing ever. I was at the post office sending off, and I was writing on a package, and the guy's like, "Yo, your handwriting is like that After School guy." And
Oh, wow.
I'm like, "I am After School." He's like, I have a mask on, right? He's like, I mean, my face isn't on the channel. He's like, "No way, I watch your channel all the time." And it was like, I got recognized because of my handwriting. That was pretty funny.
That is hilarious. Most people would that's totally unexpected because right, like for example, you have
Yeah.
a mask on, so nobody's gonna see your face. But again, your channel is like faceless. So for somebody, he was just looking
He
over
like,
your shoulder, just
"Oh, this is like After School. Wait, are you After School?"
wait, was
It's
he
like,
the was he the like the clerk at the post office who
to the
you
post office.
oh, okay. So he like read your letter and then was like, wait, you have the same handwriting. Gotcha.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
that was a nutty experience.
So the very first time that you've gotten recognized. I guess, one other thing that I want to, that kind of rings a bell with me, in that same vein or on this topic of being recognized or even celebrity, is, I mean, was that by design for you to just basically be a faceless figure, right? Like, or actually, no, that's not a good question. I'm gonna leave this part in. The question that I actually really want to ask is, um, just do you feel like that? Honestly, now I'm lost. I'm lost here with my questions. I think I'm just gonna cut this part out. This doesn't make any sense. I completely lost my train of thought. See, I told you, Mark, my train of thought gets lost at times too, doing this podcast. So I honestly, there is something there that I want to ask about celebrity and being recognized and being quote unquote famous, but I just don't know how to phrase it at
Oh,
this moment.
why why haven't I stepped in front of the camera more? Something like that.
No, it's something along the lines of like, I don't know. I guess maybe if I like talk this out, it'll make sense. It's just like I would never want to be famous. Like if this podcast for some reason gets to like 1 million subscribers on YouTube, like that like we were talking about earlier, like it wouldn't really be something that would make me happier or fulfilled. Like I don't want to deal with that. Like cuz I've seen firsthand like what celebrity can do to people from a negative standpoint, and I just think that it's so cool now, the era that we live in that you really can just like focus on the creative work and just do it. Like you don't have to, I use this analogy quite a bit. Like I don't have to, if you're a musician, you don't have to aspire to be Drake or Taylor Swift and have like 1 billion listens on Spotify. Like you can just be the, the small artist with again like 1,000 true fans, and beyond that nobody else knows who you are, but you have that direct relationship with them, and they recognize you, you recognize them, and it's more intimate, and you're not having to worry so much about you know do I look a certain way. You're like you said, you're being just judged on the character and the content of the work that you're creating, but at the same time still being able to earn a living from it, right? Like selling an album for like $10 to 1,000 people is $10,000. That's not like a light amount of change there. So I don't know if that sparks anything here, here in you as we wrap up, but that's
It's hard for me to feel sorry for famous people though.
yeah.
I, I had the weirdest conversation yesterday with a guy who is an ex NBA player,
Mm,
and he was a G League NBA coach, and he wanted to make a video about how hard it is to be a famous basketball player or a famous athlete, and how all these things that go along with their life that we don't think about, like moving cities and not knowing what your next contract's going to be. And he went through all this laundry list of issues that they go through, and at the end, I was like, dude, shut up. Like, I'm supposed to feel sorry for these like incredibly athletic, rich, good-looking guys. Like, society tells me that this is what I'm supposed to want, and then these guys have everything, and they're bitching about it. Like, give me a break. Like, yeah, if you don't like it, go work at McDonald's. go
yeah,
go go quit the NBA. But that I wasn't that mean to him. I was just like, come on, man, give me a break.
yeah.
But I'm like, I don't think that video is going to resonate with the general public.
Yeah, it might resonate with like his peers, but that's about it, you
Yeah,
know.
maybe Kevin Durant will be like, this is finally a video I can
Yeah.
relate.
Exactly. Who something that speaks to me and where I come from. But yeah, I don't know. I think that also is a commentary in itself about like the trappings of celebrity. Like you chase after this and you think that, oh, once I get to this point, I become an NBA player and I get a multi-million-dollar contract, everything will be fine. And then now here you are, you're facing your own unique set of problems, which most people, normal people, they can't even relate to you now. So now you're kind of in this box by yourself.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll close on this idea that has impacted me a lot is like our whole life we're caught between two fears: the fear of greatness and the fear of conformity. The fear of conformity is like if we completely conform to everything society, like we lose our sense of self, and we basically have a psychological death, and you're not an individual anymore. So that makes us want to be an individual. But when you become an individual, you stand out from the crowd. The more great you become, the more isolated you become. And really, like if you're like Elon Musk, you're alone. Like there's nobody you can relate to. So it's much safer and more comfortable to go towards conformity. And that's why it's so much easier to conform, because being out there trying to be great is like being out there on a boat in the middle of the ocean. Um, so we're always caught between those two fears our whole life.
That's well said, man. That's well said. Well, Mark, thank you so much for coming on the Videocraft show presented by Video Husky. Is really awesome to have you. As we close out here, just give a shout out to where everybody can find your work on all over the internet.
Yeah, thanks for having me. If you look up After Skool on YouTube, that's school spelled with a K. That's where you'll find me.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Mark.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks again to Mark Wooding for joining me on this episode of the Videocraft show presented by Video Husky. Make sure to follow After Skool wherever it is that you can get him and find him, YouTube especially. And before you go, I've got a few quick things I want to tell you about. First of all, you can find the show notes for this episode and previous ones over at www.videocraftshow.com. And number two, if you are a content creator that struggles to organize scripture ideas, I have got a resource for you. Get a copy of our free script template. Using it can help you structure your videos and save you hours of time from filming in the process. To download it, all you need to do is just go to videocraftshow.com, or if you're watching here on YouTube, find the link in the description below, scroll down, and just subscribe to our email list. It'll get delivered straight to your inbox right after you sign up. And third, if you are enjoying the show, make sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. We are always striving and trying to make the podcast better for listeners and viewers like you. So your feedback, both negative and positive, helps us improve. So again, we love to hear any kind of constructive criticism that you might have. It really does help us get this show to another level. Finally, if you're watching the show on YouTube, make sure to hit the like button before you leave. It helps us with the YouTube algorithm and get this show in front of more creators just like you. And leave us a comment too. We read every last one. We try to respond to all of them too, so please just give us any kind of feedback you can. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And on a final note, of course, I have to shout out my team for helping me produce this show. I've got to give a special shout out to my producer, Nikki Vicente, editors Rexa Stanislaw, Shara Texon, our project manager, Chaco Orukan, and graphic designer, Paulo Lopez, as well as the rest of the crew over at Video Husky. And just a quick reminder, if you are sick of editing your own videos, Video Husky can help. Visit www.videohusky.com to learn more. We'll see you next week on another edition of the Videocraft Show, presented by Video Husky.